Today. What did you think? Is Lori really sick?
Well, I'm not a doctor, Nate, and I want to put that on the record. I am a cynical old cops and robbers reporter. And from that point of view, I got to confess, it seemed like someone who was desperately trying to convince people that she was sick, as opposed to someone who was actually sick. That was sort of my read of, I thought it was a powerful, almost pathetic, pity party from the get-go. And Lori was not willing to give any ground to sort of mitigate the situation. She was sick. She didn't want to go forward, and that's what she got.
Yeah, what'd you think with the wheelchair? I mean, we at
Nice
least
touch.
nice
Nice
to,
theatrical touch is what I thought. I
yeah.
thought I thought Lori deserved an Oscar today. She went in, looked as utterly pathetic as she sounded, and looked as utterly pathetic as she possibly could. And she may well be sick. And if she is, I'm sorry for making light of any of this. But my read on this was Lori has run out of any cards to play, and now it's just sort of obstruction. I can control and manipulate the situation by claiming to be sick, and I think that's what the card she played this morning.
You have the judge there who is doing his best, I think, to contain his frustration, you could say, with it.
I'd say exasperation is what.
Aspiration, that's a
Yeah,
good word. Even
yeah.
suggesting, well, why can't your advisory attorneys pick the jury? Or why can't you stay here? Because he did make a point. She spoke for maybe 10 minutes in the other trial when the jury was picked, but she insisted she had to go lay down. She couldn't sit. Even when he said, can we move you to the other chair so the jurors can come in? She did not want to move out of the wheelchair.
No, yeah, I thought that was the nice theatrical touch in a wheelchair. Beautiful. Okay, and so I think that she was playing. She's got nothing else to play anymore, and this is really her only way to establish some sort of control. She's tried to be Clarence Darrow, the attorney. She's tried to cross-examine witnesses. She's tried a myriad of things in the courtroom. None of them have worked. And now it's just I can obstruct this as long as I can. And we have talked about this, Nate, that it seems in Arizona she really has nothing to lose after what happened up in Idaho. But at this point, she really has nothing to lose. The first trial is over. The second trial is probably going to go as badly as for her as the first one did. And now what the hell does she got?
So let me ask you, because last time we spoke, it was after Charles's trial. You said you were kind of hoping for a little bit more of an animated Lori during that trial, that she was relatively calm and presented some reasonable, somewhat arguments. You're seeing a more passionate Lori this time around in the prior hearings. I don't know if you've been in the courtroom or you've seen the video of that, Mike.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about her interactions so far with the judge?
Well, look, I think she is sort of openly contemptuous of the judge. She's made it very clear that she hates the judge and looks at him as sort of the source of all evil that is going on in the courtroom. He is represents all of her frustrations, I think. So, her relationship with the judge, and I think he's a patient man. I think he has displayed that he's really trying. But when someone is just does continue to sort of act as if they are the smartest person in the room when they're not, and like Lori does, it's difficult, and he's trying to maintain a balance. It does remind me, and we talked about this before, the other very famous case I covered where somebody represented themselves, Warren Jeffs. It was a mess. Warren did a horrible job and probably guaranteed that he would be found guilty. And Lori's doing much the same in very different kind of performance, but they're just so bad at what they're doing, and it's not winning. I know she obviously didn't win any points with the previous jury, and at this point the judge just has had it, and I think is doing his level best to try not to just really sort of lose his cool, and he hasn't, and he can't, and I'm sure he will be professional throughout, but it's starting to wear on everybody, I think, who's watched this performance.
Yeah, what's your take on Trina K? What do you do? You've got these witnesses she's now had to reschedule twice, some
Right.
of them coming from Idaho. It can be a pain when you don't know where the case is going and what's going to even happen today.
Yeah, and Miss Kay has done a really admirable job in putting this together and tried to keep a level head and just played it straight. Kudos to the prosecutor. I think she's done a really bad this together. But it's a nightmare for her. And she's juggling these witnesses, as you say. And now Nate, we now have about, what is it, 60, 70 people in this sort of potential jury pool. They were hoping to get that whittled down to 16 people, which is a big number, but it's a lot less, unwieldy than 60 people. And that's sort of what we have hanging out there. 60 people, or how is it, 60,
At
70 people?
54, yeah, 54.
54. It filled up damn near half the courtroom. So you got this big group of people who are sort of stuck in abeyance. And I'm sorry, my meter's going off here, but the you got all these people waiting, and the judge, do I let these people go and start back from scratch? I mean, if they can't start this trial moving on Wednesday, as the judge obviously indicated he'd like to do, I think they're in real trouble. They're going to have to release this jury and start all over with the questionnaires and all the stuff we sat through, and it's a nightmare. But again, what does Lori have to lose? She doesn't care. And I've written this in my little. I've got a column on my Facebook. I call it Lori Palooza, and it's sort of my take on Miss Daybell's trial. And I've really come to see this as sort of tax subsidized theater of the absurd. Really, we're just paying for sort of an absurd piece of theater that now, and I want this young man to get his day in court, the victim, and for that to be, and that's important. But really, in the grand scheme of things, with all that's transpired, and this is dragging out now, and Lori can manipulate it all she wants with this medical claims. It's a mess. And you wonder what the hell are we getting out of this? Hopefully, there will be some conclusion for this young man and his family. But Lori is, she's a piece of work.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're going to be there the next few days. I guess on Wednesday, that'll be the day to
At
see
least
what happens.
Wednesday, yeah. So we'll see if we get it going then.
What else are you working on, Mike? Let the public know what's happening.
Well, you know what? We've concluded this Samuel Bateman story where the convicted the men and a number of the women involved in this sort of break-off cult. And I just don't think it got enough play. And we were sort of, my daughter and I were involved in the coverage from early on. And so I'm trying to put, I think trying to put something where the FLDS community is now, and how an offshoot like Sam Bateman was really an inevitability of what Warren Jeffs had put in motion. Trying to put something together so I can try to explain that story either in a book or some form or another. Nate, I'm going to go hide out for a while and do some writing and see what I can come up with.
All right. Well, when it's ready, I want you to come back and tell everybody about it.
Well, hey, listen, buddy, I hope you're having a nice time back, and welcome back to Arizona. The weather's not exactly great this time of year, but it's great having you here.
I was just thinking, I'm used to working nonstop, and here we've had these delays, delays, delays. I want to get this show on the road, but I'm not the only one. I know that.
Well, hey, listen, you're a great guy, and it's really been interesting to get acquainted with you. So thank you. And after we did that interview with you a couple of weeks ago, we really got a lot of exposure. So I want to thank you for that.
Oh, good. Yeah, let everybody know your channel for those people just tuning in for the first time.
Story Hustler. You can find it on YouTube. It's a channel that my daughter and I have been putting together, and we've really focused on the FLDS, the modern day FLDS, what's happening there with Warren Jeffs and the Sam Babe.
Right.
The last 3 years, anyhow, check it out. And I got a book called Story Hustler on Amazon. So
I want to ask you one more thing. I showed the clip of you interviewing the Night Stalker,
yes,
which
sir.
a lot of our commenters, even me, it's like, man, that guy is creepy. If you could go back and interview any of these killers or, con artists, thieves, is there one you're dying to get with again? Like maybe Warren Jeffs? Would you want to interview him?
Yeah. I mean, I would interview Warren, but Warren would never sit. He would never condescend. It would be stepping down so far for him off his podium, his pedestal, that he would never be seen dealing with a man like me. Yeah, I mean, if Warren, you want to sit down with me, I'm the guy you should talk to. If you can sit down and we can mud wrestle for a half hour, you show what a man you are. But he'll never do that. I'd love to do Ramirez over again, but unfortunately, my friend Richard is now deceased. There's a million people I'd love to interview. I'd still love to interview Edward R. Murrow, and so there's some of the, but again, those things aren't going to happen. So it's interviewing you, Nate. That's as good as it gets.
Samuel Bateman, he could be one on your list.
Yeah, I've talked to Sam. The interest I don't I find the women got out of there. And we're in touch with many of the young women who were sort of, the victims. I say they're survivors that testified against him. And we're still in contact with many of them. And some of them just graduated from high school, two of them. They're remarkable young women. I find them much more interesting. A guy like Sam Bateman is going to give me his bullshit
Right.
line, and I know what he's going to say. They're not the mover. He's not the mover and shaker. He's a putz who took advantage of a lot of people.
Right.
These girls are the story.
Yeah, and not comparing politicians to criminals, but that's often how it is when you interview a politician. They're so canned in their responses. They know how to answer it. It's very smooth. Now I don't want to talk to them. I want to talk to you, real
Right,
people.
right. Much better
Right.
journalism.
Mike, thanks so much. I'll put this
Always a
on tonight,
pleasure, my
and
friend.
I guess we'll see you Wednesday. See what happens.
Let's pray. Let's get this
Thanks.
show on the road.
Let's do it. My thanks to Mike. I know that there were some glitches there. As you can tell, our connection with him was not the strongest, kept freezing. But I'll post the entire interview on our YouTube channel if you want to go back and watch it in case it glitched out for you. So thanks to Mike. He's been there every day. Journalists that cover these things, and he's covered a lot of crazy cases, worked for the tabloid, like a current affair, hard copy, those type of shows. They have dealt with criminals, narcissists, people that love it about them, and that is what they think and deal with, and that's just what he has. All right, so I jumped over from Mike to talk to Rachel Smith, the prosecutor. Remember, I interviewed her last night. She actually was supposed to be in trial today for her own trial that got moved. It got delayed. It got continued to talk about her thoughts about what happened today in court and what happens if Lori is sick on Wednesday. So here is the conversation with Special Prosecutor Rachel Smith. What do you think about today's proceedings?
Lori has been pretty clear all along, so it would be a pretty rapid departure from what she's wanted to do, which is get her trial done. So I believe she's probably sick. She of course loves the drama, so there's probably a degree of heightened that. But I would suspect she's pretty sick. And whether she takes that step back and gets counsel like she could, I don't know. But it's very clear to me the judge has lost his patience with this issue.
Yeah, I think he's kind of stuck
Yeah.
because this jury has come back for the second day in a row. And if Wednesday comes and she still can't proceed, do you ask them to come back again the next day, or do you have to get a whole new pool?
Well, I will tell you, you're right, Nate, you're right, that he is in a difficult spot because at what point do they blame one side or the other, right? And pretty quickly, if she's the one sitting there in a wheelchair, she's the one that may get the blame. So it may be that the judge has no choice but to continue this trial. I do wonder from her comments, and this is rank speculation, but is he worried that she is doing it to try to delay it, thinking she'll get a new judge? Which his comments made me wonder whether that was what was going on.
Right. Before he decided to proceed explaining, he said, I want to, make sure you understand a few things. One, I am the trial judge on this case.
Yeah.
Whether we have the trial this week or it gets continued or whatever, it will be me. I think trying to make it clear to her that because he just filed a bunch of motions against her or responded to a bunch of her motions saying denied. So whether he thought she might be faking or using this as a ploy to push it off, he made it clear, I'm going to be on this. And he also gave her the option to let her counsel, her advisory counsel, pick the jury without her or just have her sit there and not say a word. Yet she said, no, I don't want to do that.
Right. It's classic Lori. She wants it to be about her. And I think if she's sick and under the weather, she may realize she's not her own best advocate, and but she doesn't want to take advantage of what she does have. So I think if she shows up on Wednesday and acts like she's really sick or makes a really good record, the judge is going to be in a tough spot with trying to keep that jury around.
What does this do to the prosecutor when you're planning out your case and your schedule of witnesses, especially those who are flying in, and you've got 22 on the list and you've got your opening statement? What does this do in your, as you're a prosecutor in your mind thinking about this? What does it do?
Yeah. You it's that you're focused, you're ready, your adrenaline's flowing, you're really ready to go. And then when something happens last minute, it takes you a bit to pivot. You get pretty tired, that adrenaline flows down, you're spent for a little while. And then you get frustrated for your victims and your witnesses, right? Because again, not about you. And so you get pretty tired yourself, but once you get your energy back, you work really hard to get a quick court date, get it on there for your victims, your witnesses, and get it going. So this prosecutor on Lori's case is really experienced. She'll have that quick sort of decompress, adrenaline gone, and then she'll regroup and be ready if that happens.
A lot of people commenting, can't the judge force her to stay in the courtroom?
Yes, oh, absolutely. The judge can force her to stay, or he can tell her. I mean, there's a record that needs to be tried, put together. I've done similar motions called motions for courtroom decorum. I think I've talked about that before, where you say, Judge, this is a certain, please give them warnings. There's a certain level of warnings that have to happen. There's a couple Supreme Court cases out there on that issue. And so I suspect the judge will give her warnings, make her be there. I mean, they can even bind and gag somebody. That's not going to happen to Lori Vallow, but the courts if they lay the right foundation, they give the right warnings, they give the chance after chance after chance. There's the whole range of options available to a judge. Everything from trying it absentia, meaning, the person's in another room, either listening by, teleprompter or WebEx, to make them sit there and bind and gang them. So he's got a ton of options. I doubt Lori will let it get that far. But the judge could do a lot of things. And you see him, each one of these little things, and I think you called it baby steps the other day, that's spot on. He's taking those incremental baby steps to say, look, I'm giving you another chance. I'm giving you another chance. One example is where Lori said, are you going to drag me out of the cell and make me come? And he's like, yes, you're going to be at your trial. Right. So that's an example of him building a good record and giving her extra chances. He's really laying the foundation to, you're getting this done, and you're going to be here voluntarily or involuntarily.
Is there anything out of this trial you're hoping to learn, Rachel? Anything, you've covered the Idaho one personally, you were there, you followed the other ones. Anything you're hoping to get out of this one?
I would love to see more about, love to see how evidence related to Lori's participation in the planning, the conspiracy, the steps taken to kill Brandon, is presented by somebody else, Trina. She's going to go way deeper than we needed to in Idaho. I'll be very interested to see how that evidence unfolds as to Lori and how the prosecutor, Trina, puts it on. So, from the prosecutor side, I'm always interested to see how other people do things. That's an issue about Lori's direct participation in this effort to kill Brandon, will unfold in front of a jury, and how they respond.
The number one question I think I'm asked about this case, why isn't Chad charged? Why isn't Melanie Pawlowski charged? You probably don't know the specifics, but what can you say?
Yeah, I don't. Well, there in terms of Arizona's decision to charge Chad, that is straight prosecutorial decision. It is discretion of a prosecutor to make that charge. If the state does not believe there's enough to connect them to furthering a conspiracy, that the words involved are only mere words, that they aren't actions in furtherance, or that there's not words plus a few deeds, then they're not going to charge somebody. And if you have a conspiracy of all these different players, right? Some people may not have known that they were conspiring against the person, but they may not have known it was a conspiracy, even a murder. So the degree of knowledge that a person has of the ultimate goal affects the decision to charge. The degree of participation beyond mere words affects the decision to charge. And so if you don't have sort of that nice combination of words plus deeds plus actions to further, then oftentimes you choose not to charge. You can't just charge somebody because they would benefit. You can't just charge somebody who may have talked about something. You got to have the words, the intent, and the deeds. And if any of those are weak or any of those are missing, even if in your gut, it might have been there, if those things are missing, you don't charge.
But it sounds like they feel like they have enough that Lori has those words,
Mhm.
deeds, and
Yeah.
actions.
Yeah. And I think, again, in this case, as in many of her others, that iCloud and other text communications with Alex in particular, Alex and Chad in particular, is going to be Lori's downfall. Lori's own actions, Lori's own words are what really will jam her up.
And is that the same reason why you think Melanie's not being charged?
I think it's, I have not, I was not part of the decision process. Ultimately, that's a Maricopa County choice. So I don't know specifically from Maricopa County why they didn't. But if I had to guess, it's you need that combination of all three on a conspiracy case. And if any of those is weak, the other reason you may not charge all the co-conspirators is if you swing and miss at one, that emboldens all the others. So there's some real valid reasons that on a conspiracy charge, you hold it so that your evidence is tight and it meets all those pieces.
Well,
And Lori's evidence on that is tight. Like, we used a lot of her motive and her intent and her words in Idaho. We didn't use them all. And we didn't have everything that Arizona now has. So her role in this, kind of with conspiracy, another angle on how you pick who you have to go after, is that sort of but for test. But for Lori Vallow's involvement, would this have happened? Alex on his own didn't just come up with this, right? So, but for Lori Vallow, there wouldn't have been an effort to kill Brandon Boudreaux. And so that makes her sort of a central person of the conspiracy who needs to go.
yeah. All right. Well, thanks for the explanation. Hopefully that answers all your questions, because every night we get those questions.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
single time.
Yeah. It's one of those that, like, in your gut, maybe people know what they think happened in various cases. It's that classic, what your gut says and what the evidence can prove may be different things, and it's frustrating.
Yeah. Anything you want to add, Rachel?
No, I appreciate it. I
Well,
love talking to you.
thanks for coming on. All right, there you go, Rachel Smith. Always a pleasure talking with her. Hopefully that answers some of your questions, and we will see. So what happens now? As I mentioned, Wednesday morning, we will gather at the courthouse at 10 o'clock. We'll see if Lori is better or at least well enough to proceed with jury selection. Hopefully, in an ideal world, they get the jury seated by after lunch around. They shorten the lunch break maybe from 90 minutes to 60, and that opening statements then happen also on Wednesday, and then the witnesses would begin Thursday, or maybe opening statements begin Thursday. We're now backed up. Well, we'll be backed up at least 2 days. Well, probably 3 total by the time it starts. So with Friday, you have that as a makeup day, and then it could continue all of next week. What was originally planned is that the trial would probably end midweek next week, but the following week, the judge is in a conference all week. So regardless, that week will be dark. And then if we have to come back the following week, that second to last week of June, we will see if that happens. So that's where we stand. Now, tomorrow night, I'm still have a Courtroom Insider, should have a special guest here to talk about the case, someone with intimate knowledge about it. So I hope you'll tune in tomorrow night, even though there is no court. We'll still do a Courtroom Insider, and we will talk all about the with this special guest about what they know. Want to give a shout out to our sponsor, newspapers.com. A couple of you emailed me saying that you love newspapers.com or you want to get into it. One woman, Curly, Grandma, thank you, Curly, said, I loved hearing that newspapers.com is one of your sponsors. I've subscribed to that service for a number of years. Talk about deep dives. In 1966 in Denver, Colorado, a local kidnapping turned murder incident became a traumatic memory of my youth and haunted me for decades. This particular case is one of the first dives I took after subscribing to newspaper.com. I found a lot of information about it, and it's helped me to process through my emotional history. Fascinating to hear that when you can go back and read these things and understand it when you're older, can take on new eyes. I still think often of Paula Sue and consider that perhaps that experience might be one of the things that's kept me glued to this deeply layered Lori Vallow Daybell case. Thanks for what you do. Hope to see you next week. Newspapers.com. I mentioned last night the promo code. Here's how you can get the promo code. They set up a special link for me. Isn't that nice? That's so nice. Newspapers.com/Nate. You can get 20% off your membership, and they're offering a 7-day free trial. You can just go try it out. If you want to look up old cases, type in the name of the case. They'll, go down. You can explore all sorts of stuff. I'm excited to actually go on and explore about some of these trials from when I was young. Do you remember the Lori hacking case? If you're in the Utah area, I think I was interning or in college when this woman went for a run and disappeared. And then her husband, who was allegedly in med school, came out and said he didn't know where he was. And then they caught him running around naked. And it turns out he was lying. He wasn't in med school. He actually killed her and dumped her body in the landfill, I think with a mattress. Gory, graphic stuff. That is one of those trials I remember talking about our Curly's comment here just a minute ago. Anyway, I might go on newspapers.com and look those up. So thanks to newspapers.com for helping us out this go round. I also have to mention one thing. Apparently, there's all this talk about donuts. You remember how in the first trial, I brought donuts to our line sitters, the people I became friends with during Lori's trial. And that day, the jury had a verdict. Then I did it again in Chad's trial. And that day, the jury had a verdict. I didn't do it in the last one, but was close. Well, now the judge said today that he's going to bring donuts for the jurors when they actually convene a jury. He'll bring them donuts. If you watch our YouTube channel, when Jordan was here, my colleague last time, we drove around and actually went live trying different donuts. All this talk about donuts. Oh, and then I just found out National Donut Day is Friday. So what I do tonight, I went to Krispy Kreme. I wasn't gonna eat it in front of you here, but it was delicious. And the kid remembered me. The kid that was in there, he's like, "Hey, I remember you. You got shorter hair. I got a haircut." He was so nice. He gave me a free donut. So anyway, there's your donut picture for the night. They were hot off the fryer, covered in glaze, just a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff there. Had to end on a light note considering this weird day. Let's get to your shout outs and your questions here. Okay, Peggy, I know you sent them to us. Shout out to Peggy, who's watching and wants to thank you all for the nice anniversary well wishes yesterday. Clarine Brown from Rexburg. Thank you, Clarine. Pam Lyons from Comanche, Iowa. Elizabeth Wells from Connecticut. Happy birthday, Elizabeth. Thanks for watching. Lisa W. from Filer, Idaho. I've driven through Filer. Thanks for watching, Lisa. Liz Roberts from Belfast, Northern Ireland. Heidi Rockwood from Rigby. Ashley Reese from Carrollton, Georgia. Good to see you here, Ashley. Risa Greenwood from Afton, Wyoming. Charla Spears from Blackfoot. Mother and daughter named Tatum and Stephanie watching me from Gilbert. Thank you so much. Marjorie Carpenter from Sandpoint, Idaho. Good to have you here. Sandra Peters from Northern Nevada. Ange Perkins from North Indiana. Jean Nellies from Scotland. Virginia Bradshaw from Perth. You've watched since Hawaii. Thank you. Perth, Washington. And Tash Sardi from Qatar, Middle East, where it's 5:30 in the morning. I hope you're eating a donut for breakfast, Tosh. Gwenda Reynolds from Australia is also there. Peggy, do we have any men on this list? We have a lot of ladies watching. Men, Comment. We'll have to add you in tomorrow. We'll say hello to you. I appreciate anyone that watches. I want to show you a photo of this wonderful woman. I won't reveal her age. She does not look her age. She sent me a beautiful little Courtroom Insider thing that she made. She mailed it to me to my office. And then she followed up with some letters. I wrote her back. I meant to bring the little thing with me, but I didn't. And I'll show it to you one day. She came to court today. We got a picture together. There it is. There we go. Right outside the courtroom. Such a nice lady. She waited outside the courtroom. There we go with our light to get a photo with me. So thank you very much for your kindness in sending me that. And it's always great to meet you all. There were some familiar faces in court today who I knew in Idaho who came back for this trial. And some that came in, I feel bad like for today and tomorrow, but there's no court. So I guess that's just how it is. Questions. Elizabeth, how long can this go on? Can she be sick forever? She can't be the first to try this move. She can't. It's, as we kind of talked about that with Rachel, it's kind of in a weird spot because I think the judge will set so many, benchmarks, and he's giving her 2 days, all day today and all day tomorrow to recover. So I think Wednesday, we'll see. We'll see where it ends. If Lori keeps staying sick, would the judge be able to say she's not able to represent herself and then get an actual defense attorney so we can get on with this? I don't think so. She does have the right to represent herself, and that's what the judges kind of said today. Like, okay, I'll give you the time. Now, Wednesday, if she cannot continue on, if she's diagnosed with something, I would think the judge might encourage the jail to do some testing or something. My worry is, what if her attorneys come down with it? What if they end up with COVID tomorrow, or other people in the courtroom, or they can't show up? I would be really, really nervous if I was the attorneys, getting in small rooms, smaller than this hotel room, in close proximity with her, discussing these sicknesses and not wanting to. I mean, I left the courtroom and went and washed my hands. I just am paranoid like that. So I don't think she can stay sick forever. Emmy, in all of your time on this trial, have you ever seen Lori act like this? I have not. I haven't. I know a lot of you think she's faking. I know Mike Watkiss thinks she's faking. I don't think she's 100% faking. We all have different tolerances of sickness. I might go into work dying, and they might have to say, go home, you are sick. Whereas other people get a cough and they stay home. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying that I think she was sick enough that she needed a wheelchair, sick enough that she, couldn't go on for the day and have her attorneys do the work, and she just sits there. I don't know. Now, the next person, Anna, says, is there a possibility Lori can conduct her business via Zoom or video call? That's a good point. That is an interesting point. The thing is, because she's the defendant, they're not supposed to know that. They know she's on trial, but she would have to dress up, which she was dressed up today. So she did get in her normal clothes today. She was not in a jailhouse uniform. And I don't know, maybe it's possible she could be on Zoom and they would tell the jurors that she's not here. She's watching via remote or something. I don't know. It would be convenient if she just let her attorneys choose the jury, but it sounds like they didn't feel comfortable doing that when she didn't want them to do that. Sean says, was Lori dressed in street clothes? Oh, just answered your question. No, she was in her normal clothes. And I think she dressed up just in case the jurors were brought in. Can the general public be in the courtroom while a jury is selected? If so, has there been a lot of general public there? Yes, with a caveat. The general public can be, but it all depends on numbers of seats. And because there are 60 jurors that came down, 54-ish, they have precedent and they took up one side of the courtroom. And then I think today, 15 members of the public got in. There were a few that did not. The media gets the back row. There were 10 of us. And then once the jury's picked, everyone can go in. So there is a limit kind of on that. On Friday, there were 5 people there. Of course, there were more today, thinking that we'd have opening statements after jury selection, but a lot did not get in. I imagine that's how it'll be Wednesday. There were some people that just really want to see Lori, so I imagine on Wednesday people will be there to try to get in and see how it goes. If they make a mini series or a movie out of this Daybell saga, who will play you? They did. they did do a movie. I won't show you the movie. It was on Lifetime, and I won't comment on how awesome it was or not. I did watch it. They sent me a copy. This is the guy who played me. He's actually a mechanical engineer. You know what? Is it okay? I'll play you the trailer. And you can see what you thought of it. This is like a 30-second clip.
Did Lori truly believe the things Chad told her about the Dark Souls?
That's me.
And the mission and the end of the world?
She wanted to. She needed to.
Why is that something she would need?
I don't know, it's like there's this emptiness she's trying to fill.
And Chad finally filled it.
Yes. But she said to me early on, Mel, if he's Satan, he's a good one.
That was Melanie Gibb. That was a direct quote from the interview I did with Melanie Gibb. So this guy, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. His name is Spencer Lord. Very nice guy. And when I interviewed him, I interviewed him for a story. This was back in 2021. So this is 4 years. He said that he studied all of my interviews and interactions. So anyway, but if I could choose someone to play, he's far more handsome than I am and has more hair. If I could choose someone to play me, geez, I don't know. My wife says like, Zac Efron, because we look so much alike, me and Zac. Nancy Wilson. Is this the Nancy Wilson I know, Nancy? If it is, hi, I interviewed you. Why can't the judge just order her to be there? On Daryl Brooks' trial, he tried the sick thing and the judge ordered him to be there and wear a mask. He was acting as his own attorney. Maybe that's the next step. The judge is taking these kind of baby steps to make sure that things are happening, and that could be the next step. Trudy asked if Lori had a mask on. She had a mask. I didn't see her wearing it. Is one able to order special things like broth and oranges? I don't know. I imagine if you're sick, you might be able to request that, or they could bring it in. Was the advisory council will have said no into representing her today? With the advisory council will have said no to representing her today. I don't know what you mean, Carrie, but Lori said that they didn't want that. We have not heard from them. They consulted with her in private, so we don't know exactly what was said. Is there a statute of limitations for the conspiracy and attempted murder in Arizona, thinking about Melanie P? That's a good question. I know on a lot of murder cases, and this falls under the felony murder category in Arizona, there is no statute of limitations for murder and even rapes in a lot of states now, because you find that now people are getting tried for murders 40 and 50 years ago. So if that's how it is in Arizona, which I'm not 100% sure, I would imagine there is no statute of limitations. Any word on the motions the judge was going to write his response to on Friday from BJ? We went over that earlier, BJ. If you missed it, you can check it out. He denied them all. Ashley, does Lori have to be checked out by medical personnel at the jail, or can she just say she's sick? I would think if she shows up Wednesday and a medical professional has not seen her, or she says they haven't responded to her, I think the judge will say, okay, that was on you. You were supposed to get it done. You didn't get it done. We are going to proceed. And then it would be interesting to see what happens there. Paul asks, will there ever be justice for Joe Ryan? That's a tough question, Paul. Joe Ryan was cremated, and I don't believe that there's an investigation into that case. So if there was anything nefarious, I don't know how to answer that. Why is the video that was taken of Melanie P outside of Brandon's house with Alex not being used in this case? Wendy asks. Well, that was in Utah, and I don't know. I have no idea why it's not. There's a lot that, well, actually, we don't know. Maybe it will be. I shouldn't say I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it is brought in. If it's not, that's something I could ask the prosecutor when the trial's over. What if they go on without Lori in this case? Will that give her a better chance for appeals from Rosemary? Yeah, I think they need to have her. I mean, she's the defendant, especially against her will. She would argue to be there. What kind of advice can Lori's counsel give her? Can she ask them for case law, or must she investigate that herself? It's all up to Lori. It's whatever Lori wants from them. She can ask them questions. She can investigate. I know she investigates. She's got legal books and knows how to cite case law. It's all up to whatever advice she wants, she can ask. What are the chances this case can be turned over on appeal? I think the same chances as others. The judge is being careful though, and what he's granting and giving her time and laying out the record. So rather than rushing it through, I think that the judge is doing the best that he can to help in the appellate process. It will go to appeal. They always do. Whether there's any strength in the appeal or any legal recourse, that will yet to be seen. Okay, I think we're gonna stop there. So Peggy, save some of these other ones for tomorrow. We're going late. I apologize for that due to the technical glitches. Oh, one other question from Amanda. Why was today's video more like a video court feed? Because it was, Amanda. That's exactly what it was. Good question. What happened is the video camera from Court TV was set up and ready to go, but we cannot show any jury selection. We did not know what was going to transpire. We assumed all the jurors were going to be brought in, and then that would have been really bad if they recorded it. Therefore, once things got underway, they couldn't just suddenly start going because we weren't sure. After the fact, the court records video all the time, and it's called the FTR, for the record. And what happened is after the fact, we asked if we could get a copy of that. And that's where we stand. All right, 2 other questions. Linda, hey Nate, saw you on an old episode of Let's Make a Deal. Did you go on both trips that you won? We didn't go on either trip that we won, Linda. This was back in 2012, I think. My wife and I were going to Australia. We stopped in LA for a night. We went to Let's Make a Deal. We got picked. I was dressed as a banana. She was a sock monkey. And we won the big deal. We picked curtain number 3, and it was 2 trips. One was to Croatia and one was to the Caribbean. And we had to take both within a year, and we had to pay, I think, $6,000 in taxes up front. We did not have $6,000. And if we had, I would say Priceline the cases, but after our experience in Mexico, I don't know if we'd use Priceline. If we had planned those trips ourselves, it likely would have cost less than $6,000. Not dogging on the trips, because they would have been amazing. It was like a massage every day and dinners and everything. But bigger than that, we had to take both trips within a year. There were blackout dates around the times when we could go. And we found out that Erica was expecting Emmy, our first. So we couldn't go. So we turned down the trips. We walked away with nothing. We won nothing. We won the prizes, but we did nothing. But we have good memories. And I told Erica, next year I'm determined to get on Let's Make a Deal again with her. I wonder, Basia wonders if the delay trial indefinitely will set up the sentencing date for the guilty of conspiracy to murder Charles beforehand. Oh, you're wondering if they'll sentence her on that before the other trial. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens Wednesday. Wednesday is the big determining day. Personally, I'm hoping it happens. I think we all are. I hope it happens Wednesday, and we go through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then we go all of next week, and maybe we still have a verdict by the end of next week. But we shall see. And this is where you shall see me on Facebook, on X, on Insta, and East Idaho News. If you want to watch that, Let's Make a Deal, by the way, it's on our Meetin' the Eatons YouTube channel. You can go watch it. We had a lot of fun, and we were much younger and more energetic and more carefree, and now we're tired. No, we're not. Thanks, everybody, so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night, as I said, with a special guest talking about the case. Thanks to Peggy for doing our questions, as always. And take care. We'll see you. Bye.